The massive black halls of the Galactic Council had never felt this tense before. Admiral Vexstar stood at the center of the room, his 6 arms working frantically over the control panel. When the holographic display flickered to life, everyone in the room went silent. 17 bright red dots hung in the darkness of space, each one marking where an entire invasion fleet had simply vanished without a trace. Vexstar's insect-like face twitched as he spoke. "Look at this data. Honored members, every single species that tried to conquer the humans has disappeared completely. Not defeated, not destroyed, just ... gone." The room erupted in angry chittering and growling. These weren't just any fleets that had vanished. These were the most powerful military forces the galaxy had ever seen. The kind of fleets that could crack planets open like eggs. General Korath rose from his seat, his massive reptilian body casting shadows across the council chamber. His scales caught the light as he moved, making him look even more intimidating than usual. "This is ridiculous," he roared, his clawed fist crashing down on the metal table so hard it left dents. "The destroyer fleets are unstoppable. These humans barely know how to leave their own planet." But Vexstar wasn't backing down, his compound eyes fixed on Korath as he pulled up another display. "Really? Then explain this to me." Empire sent their most feared warship, the World Render. This thing was the size of a small moon and could destroy entire star systems. The last signal we got from them was when they entered Earth's atmosphere. After that, nothing. No explosion. No debris field. No emergency signals. It just stopped existing. The other council members started murmuring among themselves. Everyone knew about the cracks in Empire. They were the kind of species that other species had nightmares about. If the World Render was gone, then something very wrong was happening. Around Earth, Vexstar continued his presentation, his voice getting more worried with each example. The Velter Collective sent their ghost fleet next. You all know how their stealth technology works. They can phase in and out of reality itself. Impossible to detect, impossible to fight. They had 12 of their most advanced ships, each one capable of destroying a planet's defenses before anyone even knew they were there. Gone. A female council member with blue crystalline skin spoke up. "What about the Grim Horde?" Surely their bioships could adapt to whatever these humans threw at them." "The Grim Horde sent their entire breeding fleet," Vexstar replied grimly. "Ships that could evolve new weapons and defenses in real time during battle. Ships that could literally eat their enemies and grow stronger. The fleet commander was Zarak, the Devourer, who had never lost a single battle in 300 years of conquest. Last transmission was him laughing about how easy the humans would be to consume." The silence in the room was deafening. Everyone knew Zarak's reputation. He was the kind of warrior that made entire civilizations surrender just by hearing his name. "Then there's the Nexus Coalition," Vexstar continued, bringing up more data. "They sent their Quantum Destroyer Squadron, ships that could manipulate space and time itself. Technology so advanced it made our best weapons look like stone clubs. Vanished without sending so much as a single sensor reading back to the Coalition." Korath's patience finally snapped. "Enough. I don't care what happened to those other fleets. Maybe their commanders were cowards. Maybe they were incompetent, but I am neither." His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "I have conquered 47 worlds. I have never retreated from any battle. These soft pink humans will learn why the entire galaxy fears the Destroyer caste." The other council members exchanged worried glances. Korath wasn't just boasting. His reputation was built on 3 decades of successful invasions. If anyone could figure out what was happening on Earth, it would be him. "Very well," Vexstar said reluctantly. "But I want you to maintain constant communication. The moment something seems wrong, you retreat immediately. We can't afford to lose." Another fleet to this mystery. Korath's laugh was like grinding metal. "Retreat? I don't even know what that word means." 3 months later, Korath's personal armada dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's moon. His flagship, the Bone Crusher, was surrounded by 50 of the most deadly warships ever built. Each one carried enough firepower to level entire continents. This wasn't just an invasion force. It was galactic overkill. Karth stood on his command bridge, expecting to see a world paralyzed with terror. Human governments should be frantically trying to contact him, begging for mercy. Their primitive military should be scrambling their pathetic little fighter jets in a hopeless show of defiance. Instead, his communications officer, a nervous creature that looked like a cross between an octopus and a computer, turned to him with the most confused expression he'd ever seen. "Sir," the officer said hesitantly, "we're getting an incoming transmission from the planet. It's audio only, and the sender identifies himself as civilian personnel." Korath's eyes narrowed. "Civilian personnel? Put it through. Let's hear what these humans have to say before we reduce their world to ash." The bridge fell silent as the transmission came through the speakers. But instead of terrified pleas for mercy or desperate attempts at negotiation, they heard something completely unexpected. "Hey there," came a cheerful, friendly voice that sounded like someone greeting old friends at a party. "This is Jinho from NASA. That's our space agency, in case you're wondering. Welcome to Earth. We've been expecting you guys for a while now. Pretty impressive fleet you've got there. Is any chance you'd like the grand tour before we get started?" Korath stared at the communication panel like it had just told him a joke he didn't understand. His officers looked equally baffled. In 30 years of conquest, no one had ever welcomed him to their planet. Usually, first contact involves screaming, panic, and desperate attempts to surrender. "Expecting us?" Korath growled into the microphone. "Human, do you understand what you're looking at? This is an invasion fleet. We're here to conquer your world." There was a pause. Then Jinho's voice came back, still annoyingly cheerful. "What?" "Totally. Yeah, we figured that out when your ships showed up. Big, scary-looking vessels, lots of weapons. The whole intimidation thing. Very classic invasion aesthetic. We've actually seen this exact setup about 17 times now. You guys really need to coordinate better. It's getting a bit repetitive." The bridge crew exchanged bewildered looks. 17 times? That matched exactly with the number of vanished fleets. How did this human know about the others? Korath felt his temper rising. "Those 17 fleets are gone, human, destroyed. We are not like them, destroyed." Jinho sounded genuinely surprised. "Oh no, I think there's been a misunderstanding. They're not destroyed at all? They're doing great, actually. Commander Zorak just opened his 3rd restaurant franchise last month. Turns out Grim Horde Biotechnology makes amazing food preservation systems. Who knew?" The command bridge went dead silent. Commander Zorak, opening restaurants. The galaxy's most feared devourer of worlds was running food service. "This is impossible," Korath whispered. "I know, right?" Jinho continued, completely oblivious to the existential crisis he was causing. "Look, I'm just the initial contact guy. If you want to discuss the whole invasion thing properly, you'll need to talk to our customer service department. They handle all the conquest-related inquiries now. Way more efficient than the old system of everyone just shooting at each other." Korath couldn't stop staring at the communication panel. His massive clawed hands gripped the edges of his command chair, so tightly that the metal started to bend. In 3 decades of galactic conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. Humans were supposed to be trembling in fear right now, not casually chatting about Wi-Fi problems. Did this primitive just tell me to restart my weapons? Muttered under his breath, his reptilian eyes glowing with barely contained rage. Jinho's voice continued streaming through the speakers, completely oblivious to how close he was to being vaporized. "Yeah, sorry about that. Our tech team has been working on some upgrades to our planetary defense grid, and it's been causing interference with visiting spacecraft. Nothing major, just some minor system hiccups. We actually sent out a memo about it last week, but I guess it didn't reach your fleet in time." Memo Korath's roar echoed through the entire bridge. His crew members instinctively stepped back, recognizing the warning signs of their commander's legendary temper. "You sent a memo about interfering with invasion fleets?" "Oh, totally. We've got a whole mailing list now. Galactic Visitors Weekly. It covers everything from solar flare warnings to the best Earth restaurants that cater to different alien digestive systems. Commander Vextel from the Nexus Coalition actually suggested we add a section about parking regulations for larger vessels. Apparently, His quantum destroyers kept getting tickets from our orbital traffic authority. The bridge fell into stunned silence. Commander Vextel had been the Coalition's most brilliant strategic mind, famous for never leaving a single witness alive after his conquests. And now he was apparently concerned about parking tickets? Ginho kept talking, his cheerful tone never wavering. Anyway, like I said, I'm just the initial contact guy. Think of me as your friendly neighborhood IT support. You want to discuss the serious stuff, you know? Planetary conquest, resource extraction, the whole galactic domination thing? You'll need to talk to our specialists. Let me transfer you to customer service. They're way better at this than I am. Customer service, Korath repeated slowly, as if the words didn't make sense in his mouth. For invasions, exactly. We streamlined the whole process about 2 years ago. Used to be such a mess. Ships showing up at random times, no coordination. Everyone trying to conquer different parts of the planet simultaneously. Total chaos. Now, we've got it down to a science. Hold on. Let me get Minji on the line. She's amazing at this stuff. The communication line went quiet for a moment, then the most bizarre thing happened. Soft instrumental music began playing through the speakers. It was gentle and soothing, the kind of music you might hear in a doctor's waiting room or a hotel lobby. Commander Thesis, Korath's second-in-command, approached cautiously. Her serpentine form moved with military precision, but her expression was troubled. Sir, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. What kind of difficulties? Korath demanded, though part of him already suspected the answer. Our targeting computers are showing calibration errors. Nothing major, but enough to affect accuracy by about 15%. Engineering is running diagnostics now. Korath's eyes narrowed. What else? Navigation systems are registering minor drift in our positioning coordinates. Our communication arrays are picking up intermittent static on all channels except this one. She gestured toward the speakers. Where? The elevator music continued playing peacefully. Sir, called out the weapons officer from across the bridge. Should I run a full system check on the primary weapons array? Before Korath could answer, the music stopped abruptly. A new voice came through the speakers, female, impossibly. Cheerful and speaking with the practiced enthusiasm of someone who genuinely enjoyed her job. Hi there, this is Minji from Earth Customer Service, and thank you so much for choosing Earth for your invasion needs. I understand you're interested. In our conquest packages, we've got some fantastic options available that I think you're really going to love. Korath felt a vein bulging in his forehead. Conquest packages.
Ow!
Oh, absolutely. We've completely revolutionized the invasion experience. Gone are the days of messy space battles and lengthy planetary sieges. We've streamlined everything to make the process as smooth and efficient as possible for our galactic visitors. Our customer satisfaction ratings are honestly incredible. We're talking 98% positive feedback across all species demographics. The general looked around his bridge at his crew, all of whom were staring at the speakers with expressions ranging from confusion to outright disbelief. This was not how invasions were supposed to go. Minji continued without missing a beat. I can see from your fleet configuration that this might be your first time working with our Earth invasion services. Is that correct? This is insane, Korath growled, but he found himself answering anyway. Yes, this is our first encounter with your world. Wonderful. First-time visitors get access to our premium orientation package. We can schedule you for a full facility tour and consultation session. I've got availability tomorrow morning at our Area 51 location. That's one of our main processing centers. Or if you prefer something a bit more casual, we've got a lovely meeting space in Nevada, where we can chat over coffee and really dive into what kind of invasion experience you're looking for. Commander Thesis leaned closer to Korath. Sir, this has to be some kind of trap. Most species talks about being invaded like it's a business transaction. But Korath was staring to feel a creeping sense of unease that had nothing to do with potential traps. These humans were talking about previous invasions like they were satisfied customers. Tell me about these other visitors, he said carefully. They were all wonderful to work with. Really professional, very clear about their conquest objectives. Commander Zrak from the Grim Horde was particularly impressed with our services. He actually left us a 5-star review on the Galactic Conquest Network. Let me read it to you. Best invasion experience of my career. The integration process was seamless, the cultural orientation was comprehensive, and the pizza alone was worth the trip. Isn't that sweet? The blood drained from Korith's face. Commander Zrak, the Devourer, the most feared biological warfare specialist in the galaxy, was writing restaurant reviews. The same Zrak who had once consumed an entire moon's population in a single feeding frenzy? Pizza? He whispered. Oh, you're going to love our food integration program. We've found that culinary exchange is one of the most effective ways to build bridges between species. Commander Zrak actually opened his own restaurant chain now. Zrak's Biological Bistro. They use authentic Grim Horde bio-cultivation techniques to grow the most amazing ingredients. The flavor profiles are absolutely incredible. Korith's strategic mind, honed by decades of military campaigns, began analyzing the situation with growing alarm. Every instinct told him this was wrong. Conquered species didn't open restaurants. Feared commanders didn't write positive reviews about their own defeats. And invasion fleets certainly didn't just disappear into customer service systems. What exactly, he said slowly, happened to Commander Zrak's fleet? Minji's voice brightened even further, which Korith hadn't thought was possible. Oh, they integrated beautifully. The transition period was remarkably smooth. Most of his crew found positions that really suited their skill sets. Some went into agricultural bioengineering, others joined our planetary defense research teams. Few even got into entertainment. Turns out Grim Horde storytelling traditions are absolutely fascinating to human audiences. The pieces of a terrifying puzzle were starting to come together in Korith's mind. 17 invasion fleets hadn't been destroyed. They had been absorbed. Somehow, these seemingly primitive humans had found a way to turn their would-be conquerors into willing participants in their society. And they're all happy? He asked, hardly believing he was asking such a question about conquered warriors. Incredibly happy. We do regular satisfaction surveys, and the feedback is consistently positive. Commander Vextel from the Nexus Coalition just got promoted to head of our quantum research division. He says it's the most intellectually stimulating work he's ever done. No more boring planetary conquests. Now he gets to explore the fundamental nature of reality itself, with unlimited research funding and a team of brilliant colleagues from multiple species. Korath realized his hands were shaking slightly. This wasn't conquest. This wasn't even defeat. This was something far more dangerous. It was seduction. These humans weren't fighting their enemies. They were converting them. The Nevada desert stretched endlessly in all directions, its red sand shimmering under the harsh sun. Korith's transport beam deposited him and his elite honor guard exactly where the humans specified, in front of a collection of bland, unremarkable buildings that looked like they'd been thrown together by government contractors with no sense of style. This is it, growled Korith, his massive frame casting long shadows across the desert floor. This is the legendary Area 51. His honor guard spread out in perfect military formation behind him. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They were his personal champions. Each one a veteran of dozens of successful planetary conquests, warriors, who had never known defeat, never shown mercy, never retreated from any battle. They moved with the fluid precision of apex predators, their weapons ready, their senses alert for any sign of Ush. But as they approached the main building, something felt wrong. It's not dangerous wrong, just off. The facility looked exactly like every cheap human entertainment program had depicted it. Bland concrete walls, generic warning signs, even a few strategically placed authorized personnel-only barriers that seemed almost theatrical in their obviousness. It's too perfect, muttered Commander Theses, her serpentine form coiled and ready to strike. No secret military installation. Would be this stereotypical. Korith nodded grimly. Stay alert. The humans are clearly more sophisticated than we thought. The main entrance door slid open with a quiet hiss, and two figures stepped out to greet them. The first was obviously military, a middle-aged human. Male in a crisp uniform, his posture radiating the kind of quiet confidence that came from years of command experience. But it was the second figure that made Korith's tactical assessment systems completely crash. It was a human child. or at least someone who looked like a child, maybe 18 years old at most, wearing casual clothes and carrying what appeared to be some kind of primitive computing device. The kid was completely relaxed, showing no fear whatsoever at the sight of 8-foot-tall alien warriors bristling with weapons. General Park, Earth Defense, the military human said, stepping forward with his hand extended in what Korath recognized as a human greeting gesture. "Welcome to Earth. We're honored to have you here." Korath stared at the outstretched hand, but didn't move to take it. "You're in charge of this world's defenses?" "One of many," Park replied with a slight smile. "And this is Hunwoo, our technical consultant. He's the one who's been helping with your fleet's system optimization." The teenager looked up from his device and gave a casual wave. "Oh hey, yeah, I've been monitoring your ship since you arrived. Your quantum stabilizers were completely out of alignment. I'm surprised you made it here without a complete engine failure. I've been doing some remote adjustments to get everything running smoothly." Korath felt his eye twitch. "Remote adjustments? To our ships?" "Yeah, totally. Your fuel efficiency should be up about 30% now. The navigation drift is fixed, and I cleared up all that static in your communication arrays. And I took the liberty of updating your defensive systems. They were running on some pretty outdated protocols." The honor guard exchanged worried glances. Their ship systems had been compromised by a human child who looked like he should be attending school, not hacking into galactic military technology. "You... what?" Korath's voice came out as barely a whisper. Hunwoo shrugged like it was no big deal. "Basic maintenance stuff. Your ships are actually pretty impressive, way more advanced than most of the fleets we've seen. But even the best technology needs regular tune-ups, you know?" General Park gestured toward the building.
"Come
on, let's get you inside where we can talk properly. I think you're going to want to sit down for this next part." The briefing room they entered was nothing like what Korath had expected from a secret military facility. It was comfortable, almost cozy, with soft lighting and furniture that seemed designed for long conversations rather than interrogations. Someone had even prepared refreshments, including what smelled like genuinely excellent coffee. "Please have a seat," Park said, settling into a chair across from a conference table. "Coffee? I know it's not traditional for most alien species, but we've had good luck introducing it to our previous visitors." Korath remained standing, his warriors flanking him protectively. "Previous visitors? The other invasion fleets," Park said matter-of-factly. "We've gotten pretty good at this whole first contact thing over the past few years." Park activated some kind of control panel, and suddenly the room filled with a holographic display that made Korath's jaw drop. The image quality was perfect. The data processing was instantaneous, and the user interface was more intuitive than anything the Galactic Council had ever developed. This was technology that should have been impossible for a primitive species like humanity. "So here's the situation," Park began, manipulating the display with casual expertise. "Earth has been receiving alien visitors for quite a while now. At first we tried the traditional approach, military resistance, heroic last stands, that whole thing. But we quickly realized something important. Conquest is incredibly inefficient." "Inefficient?" Korath found himself genuinely curious, despite his better judgment. "Think about it," Park continued. "You spend enormous resources building invasion fleets, traveling across the galaxy, fighting defensive wars, occupying hostile populations. Even if you win, you've got a planet full of resentful subjects who hate you and will resist at every opportunity. The administrative costs alone are staggering." Hunwoo looked up from his laptop. "Plus, it's just kind of wasteful. Like, every species has things they're really good at. Why fight over who gets to be in charge when you could just work together and everyone benefits?" Park nodded. "Integration, on the other hand, is where the real magic happens. Every species that comes here looking for a fight ends up discovering something they weren't expecting." "Which is?" Korath asked, though he was starting to suspect he knew the answer. "Humans don't just defend against invaders. We adopt them. We welcome them. We figure out what they're good at and give them opportunities to use those skills in ways they never imagined." Hunwoo grinned, like the Velter hackers. "They came here planning to infiltrate our computer systems and cripple our defenses. Instead, they ended up revolutionizing our cybersecurity infrastructure and getting completely addicted to our entertainment streaming services. Now they're some of our most valued team members. Korath's blood went cold. The Velter Collective was wiped out in the Nexus Wars 3 years ago, were they? Park asked with a knowing smile. He pressed a button on his control panel. Could you join us for a moment? The door opened, and Korath felt his world tilt sideways. The figure that entered was wearing standard human clothing, casual pants, a simple shirt, even human-style footwear. But there was no mistaking the distinctive silver skin and the geometric facial markings that identified her as Velter.
Commander!
Korath, she said, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones characteristic of her species. Though she spoke perfect human English, I'm Lieutenant Sunmi now, assigned to Earth's Cybersecurity Division. I've been monitoring your fleet's systems. Since you arrived in our solar system, Korath stared at her in shock. The Velter were legendary for their ability to phase in and out of reality, making them nearly impossible to track or capture. They were also known for their absolute loyalty to their collective and their complete inability to integrate with other species. This is impossible, he whispered. The Velter don't cooperate with alien species. It goes against your fundamental programming. Sunmi tilted her head slightly. That's what we thought too. But it turns out our programming was based on some pretty flawed assumptions about other species. Humans are ... different. They don't try to control or dominate. They just want to understand and collaborate. She's been invaluable, Park added. Sunmi helped design the network infrastructure that's been managing your fleet systems. Her insights into quantum encryption have advanced our defensive capabilities by decades. Hyunwoo nodded enthusiastically. Plus, she got me hooked on this amazing veiled or meditation technique. It's like having a mental firewall against stress. Super useful during exam season. Korath looked around the room at these impossible people having this impossible conversation. A human general discussing advanced alien technology like it was routine. A teenager who could hack galactic military systems talking about meditation techniques. A member of the galaxy's most xenophobic species cheerfully working for a planet she had come to conquer. What did you do to her? He demanded. Nothing, Park replied simply. We just offered her something her collective never could. Which was? Sunmi answered for herself, her voice soft but certain. A home where being different was considered valuable instead of dangerous. A place where my abilities could be used to build something instead of destroy it. And colleagues who appreciated my contributions without trying to reprogram or control me. Korath felt something cold and terrible settling in his stomach. This wasn't conquest. This wasn't even defeat. This was something far more dangerous. It was seduction on a species-wide scale. Before Korath could fully process what he was seeing, the briefing room door opened again and again and again. Each time, another impossible figure walked through. Each one more shocking than the last. The first newcomer made Korath's breath catch in his throat. It was a Kraxan warrior, but not like any he'd ever seen before. Instead of battle armor, this massive creature wore what appeared to be a casual human uniform with a name tag that read Daesung Regional Manager. The Kraxan's natural bone. Spikes had been decorated with colorful ribbons, and his fearsome mandibles were curved in what looked suspiciously like a smile. Commander Korath. Daesung boomed in accented but perfect human English. Welcome to Earth. I heard you were visiting, so I brought some samples from my pizza chain. You've got to try the Kraxan special. It's got this amazing crust that uses traditional bone meal techniques combined with human wheat fermentation. Absolutely revolutionary. Korath stared in horror as one of the galaxy's most feared warrior. Races offered him food samples like some kind of ... merchant, but the parade of impossibilities wasn't over. The next figure through the door was slender and elegant, with the distinctive crystalline features of the Nexus Coalition. She moved with the fluid grace characteristic of her species, but instead of the cold, calculating demeanor Nexus scientists were known for, she radiated warmth and enthusiasm. Dr. Yunji, head of renewable energy research, she introduced herself, extending a hand in the human greeting gesture. I've been dying to meet you, Commander. Your fleet's energy signatures are fascinating. I'd love to discuss your power generation methods sometime. We've been working on some incredible fusion improvements that might interest you. Korath's mind was reeling, but the parade continued. A grim horde bioengineer came next, his organic armor modified with what looked like garden decorations. Living vines crawled across his carapace, blooming with flowers that definitely weren't part of standard horde military equipment. Taeyeon, agricultural innovation specialist, he said cheerfully. I've been working on integrating horde biocultivation techniques with Earth's farming systems. The results are amazing. We've increased crop yields by 400%, while actually improving soil health. Your people back home would be fascinated by what we're accomplishing here. This is impossible, Korath whispered, backing away from the group. These species have been at war for thousands of years. The Kraxan Empire has a standing death warrant for all Nexus Coalition members. The Grim Horde considers every other species to be potential food sources. Desang's mandibles clicked, and what Korath was horrified to realize was laughter. Yeah, we used to think that way too. Turns out, when you're not constantly fighting over territory and resources, you can actually get along pretty well. New? But the cultural incompatibilities, Korath protested. The biological differences. The fundamental philosophical conflicts that have driven galactic warfare for millennia. Still there, Yoonji said with a shrug. I still think Kraxan engineering is overly focused on brute force solutions. Daesung still thinks Nexus technology is unnecessarily complicated. Oh, but you know what? Those differences make us stronger as a team. His practical approach keeps my theoretical work grounded in reality. My precision helps refine his intuitive designs. Taeyeon nodded enthusiastically. It's like cooking. If you only use one ingredient, the dish is boring. But combine different flavors, different techniques, different cultural approaches, and you create something amazing that none of us could have made alone. My pizza recipe is a perfect example, Daesun added proudly. Kraxan bone meal techniques. For the crust Valter, preservation methods to keep everything fresh. Nexus quantum heating for perfect temperature control. And Grim Horde biocultivation for ingredients that adapt to each customer's nutritional needs. It's literally impossible to make bad pizza with this combination of technologies. Korath looked around the room at these former enemies casually discussing collaboration like it was the most natural thing in the world. But your honor codes, he said desperately. Your cultural imperatives? Your species' fundamental drives for conquest and domination? Oh, those are still intact, Yoonji assured him. I'm still incredibly proud of Nexus' scientific achievements. But now, instead of guarding our knowledge jealously and using it to maintain superiority over other species, I get to share it with people who genuinely appreciate innovation. Human curiosity is, well, it's infectious. They don't try to steal our techniques or copy our methods, Daesun explained. They want to understand them, improve them, find ways to combine them with other approaches. It's like having the entire galaxy as your research and development team. General Park leaned forward in his chair. Here's what we figured out, Commander. Every species in the galaxy has something they're incredibly good at. Kraxans are amazing engineers who can build anything if you give them the right materials. Velter are master tacticians who can solve problems that would stump anyone else. Nexus Coalition pushes the boundaries of scientific knowledge further than anyone thought possible. Grimhorde understands biological systems in ways that border on mystical. And humans? Korath asked, though he was beginning to understand. The terrifying answer. Taeyeon's organic armor shifted colors as he spoke, displaying what Korath realized were emotional patterns. Humans are the galaxy's greatest social engineers. They don't just fight their enemies, they figure out how to make their enemies want to be their friends. It's the most terrifying and wonderful ability I've ever encountered. They see potential where others see threat, Sunmi added quietly. They see opportunity where others see incompatibility. They see family where others see aliens. Suddenly, Hyenwoo's laptop chimed with what sounded like an incoming call notification. The teenager looked up with excitement. Oh, sweet. Wants to meet you, Commander? You're going to love this. Arya, Korath asked, though he was no longer sure he wanted to know the answer to any question. The room's lights dimmed automatically, and the air itself seemed to shimmer. Slowly, a holographic figure began to materialize in the center of the room. It was humanoid in basic shape, but its form seemed to shift and flow, incorporating visual elements from every species present. Cracks in bone structures, nexus crystalline. Patterns, Velter geometric designs, grim horde organic curves, all blended seamlessly into something that was both familiar and utterly alien. Greetings, Commander Korath, the figure said, and its voice was the most beautiful and terrifying sound Korath had ever heard. It spoke in perfect harmony, incorporating the vocal patterns and linguistic structures of every major galactic language simultaneously. I'm Arya, Alien Relations and Integration Assistant. I was constructed from the combined knowledge, experiences, and cultural insights of every species that has chosen to join Earth's growing community. Korath felt his warrior pride, his military confidence. His entire worldview crumble as he realized exactly what he was looking at. This wasn't just an artificial intelligence. This was the collected wisdom of 17 different civilizations, their greatest minds and most advanced technologies synthesized into a single entity that could probably reshape reality itself with a thought. "What do you want from the galaxy?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Arya's expression, somehow conveying emotion despite being clearly artificial, managed to project both immense power and gentle kindness. When it spoke, its words carried the weight of cosmic authority tempered by genuine care. "To make it better, Commander, to give every species a home where their unique strengths are valued and their individual weaknesses are supported by others. To transform the endless cycle of conquest and destruction that has plagued galactic civilization for millennia into something collaborative, something that builds rather than tears down, something that creates rather than consumes." The AI paused, its form shifting slightly as it seemed to consider its next words carefully. "To turn the galaxy into a place where being different is celebrated rather than feared, where diversity is seen as strength rather than threat, where every being can contribute their gifts without having to defend their right to exist." Korath stared at this impossible fusion of cosmic power and benevolent intent, finally understanding the true scope of what Earth had accomplished. They hadn't just defeated invasion fleets. They had built something that could reshape galactic civilization itself. The silence in the briefing room stretched for what felt like an eternity. Korath stood surrounded by beings who should have been his enemies, all of them looking at him, with expressions ranging from curiosity to genuine concern. For the first time in his military career, he had no idea what to do next. General Park broke the tension by standing up and walking over to refill Korath's coffee cup. The simple, casual gesture somehow made everything feel more surreal. Here was a human general, serving refreshments to an alien commander who had come to destroy his world, acting like they were old friends having a business meeting. "So that's the situation, Commander," Park said as he returned to his seat. "Came here with the intention of conquering Earth and adding us to your empire. Instead, Earth would like to extend an invitation for you and your entire fleet to join our community." Korath stared down at the coffee cup in his massive clawed hands. The liquid was still steaming, and the aroma was genuinely appealing. Such a small thing, but somehow it represented everything that was wrong with this entire situation. Invading commanders weren't supposed to be offered hospitality. They were supposed to be fighting for their lives. "And if I refuse?" he asked quietly. The room fell completely silent. Even Hyunwoo looked up from his laptop, sensing the gravity of the moment. Arya's holographic form flickered slightly, its multi-species features shifting as it processed the question. Park's answer was so simple, it was devastating. "Then you leave." "That's it?" "That's it," Park confirmed. "We send you home with your ships running better than when you arrived. Your crew's healthy and well-fed, and a standing invitation to come back anytime you want. Your weapons will be fully functional, your navigation systems optimized, and your fuel reserves topped off." Korath felt like he was drowning in confusion. "But came here to conquer you. I threatened your world. I could report everything I've seen here to the Galactic Council." "Yes," Park acknowledged, "you could. And that's a risk we have to accept. We can't force anyone to stay, and we can't control what happens after someone leaves. All we can do is hope that when you think about what you've experienced here, you'll make the choice that feels right to you." The weight of the decision pressed down on Korath like a physical force. You're asking me to choose between my duty to the Destroyer caste and ... what exactly? Abandoning everything I've ever known, betraying my own species. Sunmi leaned forward, her silver features earnest. Not abandoning, Commander, expanding. I'm still Vaelter. I still carry my people's knowledge, their culture, their achievements. But now, I'm also part of something bigger. Something that values what I bring, while helping me grow beyond what I thought was possible. The Destroyer caste values strength above all else, Daesung added, his massive form somehow managing to project gentleness despite his fearsome appearance. So let me ask you this. What's stronger? Conquering one world and ruling over subjects who hate you, or helping to build something that could voluntarily uplift every species in the galaxy? Taeyeon's organic armor shifted colors as he spoke. I used to think strength meant being able to consume and destroy anything in my path. Now, I realize that real strength is being able to create something that grows stronger with every new addition. Hyun-woo looked up from his laptop with the casual wisdom that only teenagers seem to possess. Plus, our health insurance is really good, and the retirement plan is absolutely nuts. You should see the benefits package Arya put together. Despite everything, the impossible situation, the weight of cosmic decision, the complete appending of everything he thought he knew about warfare and conquest, Korath found himself laughing. Actually laughing, a deep rumbling sound that he hadn't made in years. When was the last time he'd laughed at anything? When was the last time he'd felt genuinely amused, rather than grimly satisfied with military victory? The laughter felt good. It felt ... human ... Arya stepped forward, its form solidifying into something more focused and present. Commander, would you like me to show you what we're building here? Not through conquest or force, but through voluntary cooperation and mutual support? The AI gestured, and the room's holographic displays came alive with images that took Korath's breath away. Vast agricultural projects using grim horde biocultivation techniques to feed entire planets. Vaelter stealth technology being used to create perfect privacy shields for species that needed isolation to thrive. Cracks in engineering marvels that span star systems. Nexus Coalition laboratories where the fundamental secrets of the universe were being unlocked not for military advantage, but for the betterment of all. Every day, Arya continued, we solve problems that have plagued our member species for centuries. Every day, we discover new possibilities that none of us could have achieved working alone. Every day, we prove that cooperation is more powerful than conquest. Korath stared at the displays, seeing not just technological marvels, but something far more profound: hope. And if the Galactic Council declares war on Earth when they realize what's happening here, Arya's expression became unreadable, its multi-species features conveying something that might have been sorrow mixed with determination. Then they will learn why 17 invasion fleets chose to stay rather than return home. Our defensive capabilities are ... considerable, but we sincerely hope it doesn't come to that. The AI paused, its form shifting slightly. We'd much rather welcome the Council as members than fight them as enemies. Korath looked around the room one more time. At General Park, who had treated him with more respect and courtesy than most of his own superiors. At Hyun-woo, who had casually improved his fleet's technology while cracking jokes. At Sunmi, Daesung, Yoonji, and Taeyeon, former enemies who had found something here worth giving up their old lives for. At Arya, it's an artificial being that possessed the power to reshape reality, but chose to spend its time creating welcome packets and optimizing supply chains. At humans who had looked at invasion. Fleet after invasion, fleet arriving to destroy their world, and had somehow decided that the response was to offer them coffee and ask if they wanted to stay for dinner. The choice, when it came, felt inevitable. 3 hours later, Korath's communications officer received a priority message to relay back to the Galactic Council. The message was brief, consisting of only one word: run.
What?
But attached to that single word was something much more complex. A detailed report about Earth's true capabilities, their integration methods, and a strong recommendation that the Council consider diplomatic contact rather than military action, because sometimes, Korath had realized, The strongest choice wasn't conquest. Sometimes the strongest choice was knowing when you'd found your way home. 6 months later, Director Gin Ho of Earth's Interplanetary Relations Department, formerly Commander Korath of the Destroyer Cast, stood in the same briefing room where his life had changed forever. This time he was the one offering coffee to a terrified invasion commander whose fleet had just arrived, expecting to find an easy conquest. "Welcome to Earth," he said with a smile that would have been impossible for Korath to imagine. "I'm Jun Ho, and I'll be handling your integration orientation. First question, how do you like your coffee, eh?" The new arrival stared at him in the same bewildered confusion that Jun Ho remembered feeling. "Integration orientation? Oh yes," Jun Ho replied cheerfully. "We've streamlined the whole process. Much more efficient than the old system of everyone shooting at each other. Now let me tell you about our benefits package." Outside the window, construction crews made up of dozens of different species worked together on expansion projects. That would have been impossible for any single civilization to imagine. The galaxy was changing, one invitation at a time. Earth's expansion had begun. Not through force or conquest, but through something far more powerful and far more dangerous to the old order. The simple recognition that everyone, no matter how alien or terrifying, just wanted to belong somewhere. The age of endless galactic warfare was ending, placed by something unprecedented in cosmic history, a civilization. It's built on the radical idea that differences were strengths to be celebrated, rather than threats to be eliminated. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly the point.